As you know, we do like to start on time, and this is Lancaster Area Woodturners Coffee Hour number 71 on September 30th. My name is John Kelsey. I'm the club treasurer and Zoom moderator for the morning coffee hours, which we hold every Thursday morning, this same place. Coffee hour is open to all Woodturners, free of charge. Our experience is that once guys come to coffee hour for a while, they tend to join our club. So that's the reason the club does it. It's a service to members and a way of trolling up new members. We now have, I think, 63 or 64 members, and we have a new guy in the room who I'm going to, we'll have a show and tell from him later. His name is John Chalikian, and in the phone cam picture there, you can see him in the corner in the green shirt, waving his hand. And we'll introduce him with his work a little later on in the morning. I'm seeing 22 screens on now, and 3 guys in the room. So here's the room, dudes, just so we can believe they're all there. There they are, 3 guys in the room and a bunch of work on the table. That's Roy over there to the right of the screen, Lloyd in the middle, and John Chalikian on the left of the screen. And we're in the Kaufman space in New Holland. I'm going to remove the spotlight and go back to gallery view. And the reason I tell you what I'm doing is because it uses the time while I do it. As you know, this has been a long ongoing experiment for the last year and a half. We have, again, new equipment here. We have an audio mixing board that seems to be working pretty good. Let me see. The cautions for the day are please silence your phones so that they don't ring in the middle of the meeting. And if you're going to go, if you've got somebody else in the room who's on, like we often have a couple and they're both on screen, one of you has got to mute. Otherwise we get squealing. Okay, who's got stuff they want to show today that I don't already know about? I know that I have. I know that John has. I know that Dello has. Randy has. Kai has. And Doug has on Kathy's behalf. And Ernie has. Okay, well, we'll just go around and see how far we get. I'm going to ask Kai to go first because he's following up on the Axminster Chuck thing we did a couple of weeks ago. He's got some video about the Axminster Chuck jaws. So if you're ready with that, Kai.
Yes, I am.
Go with it.
So shall I share?
Absolutely.
Okay, try to do that. Yeah, so I've got a black screen as well. Now it should say Axminster Chucks.
And it does.
Okay, right. So I bought my first Axminster Chuck about 26, 27 years ago. At that time, this was the only scroll jaw that had special accessories for woodturners that was sold in Europe or in Britain at that time, but later on they sold it in Germany as well. They used a bison chuck, which was made in Poland or is still made in Poland, but Axminster doesn't sell it anymore. I guess the reason is that it's just too expensive nowadays. When they introduced this chuck, it's originally a metal engineering chuck. Poland was no member of the European Union, and I guess that made it cheaper to import stuff from Poland to Britain. And later on, they started building their own chuck casings or their own chucks. With these chucks, you always have the problem that you either have to undo 8 screws. I think normally it's 8 screws if you want to change your chuck jaws, or you need to have several chucks. I think the week before last week, someone said he had about 40 chucks, different chucks.
That was Blazik. That was Blazik, and he's Bill. That was Bill Blazik, and he's on screen. He can defend himself a little later.
No, yeah, he doesn't have to defend himself. It's just for convenience. Either you have to have several chucks, maybe not 40, a bit less does the trick as well, but or you have to kind of undo the screws all the time and then screw your new jaws to the these mounting jaws, they call them with Axminster. The nice thing about these mounting jaws is that you can remove them completely from the chuck. The new chucks that Axminster sell have a little screw at the bottom. If you take that one out, you can take the accessory mounting jaws out as well. And that was actually the first thing that Axminster promoted 25 years ago or whatever, that you buy these mounting jaws and then your jaws that go on top of them, and then change the mounting jaws complete with the top part, the actual jaw, so that you didn't have to kind of fix and undo the screws all the time. So here you can see it, the jaws and then these mounting jaws, and you just stick them in the chuck body, turn your key, and then you fix the whole thing to the jaw, to the chuck by doing that. And that's far quicker than fiddling around with 8 screws. So I ended up with lots and lots of Axminster jaws mounted to these accessory mounting jaws, and I routed kind of a little slot here, so I can put them into it and store them in a drawer. Yeah. For comparison, this is the old Bison chuck, metal engineering chuck, and that's this newer chuck that Ernie introduced 2 weeks ago. Actually, they left away this part of the body here, so these gears, you can see them here, and here they are inside the chuck body. So yeah, now they have a red dot here to tell you that you shouldn't remove the accessory mounting jaws too far out, and that's the little screw on the back that allows you to take them out completely if you want to change the complete set. Yeah. Then Ernie talked about these O'Donnell dovetail jaws. I don't know whether other chuck manufacturers have similar type of jaws. I find them really handy because they give you lots of room to work between your workpiece and the chuck body. Axminster does them in 3 different sizes. There is a 2-inch version and a 1.5-inch version, and also a 1-inch version. And these measurements are given in millimeters here. Yeah, and they are pretty solid and well gripping jaws. What they also do is they offer the biggest one and then 2 inserts that you could or can put into the big one, and you can fix them with a screw that goes to the big jaw here and then into the small jaw that is inserted in here. So that is to make the system a little bit cheaper, but then on the other hand, you still have to fiddle around with screws. It's not 8, but 4. And I prefer to have different jaw sets and not this system. But that's also a question of the money you want to spend. Yeah, here you can see the O'Donnell jaw in action, gripping a foot of a bowl, and you can see you have plenty of room to work with. If you make the foot a little bit longer, you can even go right down to the edge. And if you don't open the jaws too far, it's also quite safe. I mean, if you have only a gap here, maybe of 1/8 of an inch, 3 millimeters or something like that, that shouldn't be too dangerous. Yeah. What I also like, I think I talked about that last year, that you can grip a pre-turned bowl on a 10 that you left on the inside, so the chucks, the jaws reaches far into the bowl. That's also nice about these O'Donnell jaws. And they are pretty strong. You can hold small pieces. That's about maybe 5 centimeters, 2 inches long here. And it's just got a little 10. And if you fix that in the chuck here, then it's quite strong. Again, the jaws should touch most the workpiece on the whole circumference. So not only in the corners here, but all around. So that's why you shouldn't open your chuck too much when you hold the workpiece. Also, then the gap is small and it's less dangerous. Yeah, and once I had that in there, I started playing around a little bit and thought, okay, I'll make a spinning top. I did some decoration here using a spiraling tool. And you can see here, I worked right to the jaws using a small parting tool, and that worked well. This stayed in the chuck after parting off. I drilled a hole into it to hold the stem of the top to work the point here. So that's the leftover, and that's the top. Okay, here you can see it again. So I just inserted the top into this bit that was still inside the chuck to work the point here. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I'll stop this.
And you're
Are
sharing.
there any questions or comments?
Yeah, Kai, those jaws, they're dovetailed?
They have dovetails, yes. Let me just share again. Maybe then I can show that. Where have I got? Yeah.
One slide showed the 15-degree angle on them. It's
So
number 10.
can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So they have got a dovetail here on the inside and on the outside. 15 degrees is the angle used. And that makes it possible to hold even small work pieces. If you have got a 10 that is just maybe 1/4 of an inch, you can still hold it securely. Of course, if it's not too long, I mean, if it's a really long workpiece, then maybe you need to support it with your tailstock as well.
Does it tighten clockwise or counterclockwise?
Good question. I've never thought about this. I'm just using it. I think it closes clockwise. Yeah.
It does. It's clockwise. It's like all other chucks except the older Techni-Tool chucks.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about closing, I guess we talk about a 10, because if you cut a recess, then closing is in the other direction. You open the chuck to grip. Yeah. Any more comments or questions that you want to ask?
I have one, Kai.
Yes.
On your number 12 slide, good access to workpiece, you're sticking out there pretty far. Do you ever notice you're running true, or you got any vibration in that, or what?
Yeah, this is a pre-turned bowl, which is dry now, and with dry wood, even with a short 10 of 1/4 of an inch, it's no problem. So the chuck body is 100 millimeters, that's 4 inches. And I guess the whole bowl is maybe 6-7 inches or something like this. So with this dimension, it's not a problem. But I had even bigger bowls on there, and it still grips well. I mean, if you get a catch, then it could be dangerous. But normally it's not a problem.
So
Especially if you open the or if you close the jaws to a gap that is really small here.
So I take it that you and Ernie are both recommending these chucks. If somebody was in the market for a set of chucks and jaws, you'd recommend this above others. Is that right?
I have to admit, I don't have much experience with other systems. I bought that, and then I've been using it for 25 years now, and I'm happy with it. They have a lot of accessories to go with it. It's a strong,
So
it has got a lot of gripping power. It's a strong system, and I think I can recommend it. I especially like these old metalworking jaws, which they unfortunately don't sell anymore. But maybe Ernie can comment on that as well. What do you think about the construction or gripping power and ease of use?
Well, I think the construction of the new one is truly beautiful. And if you look at the newer jaws you show in slide 1, and the jaws in 10 there that you're showing now, you can see how the bottom jaws, we'll call them, I call them bottom jaws and top jaws. But at any rate, the bottom jaws on these are radiused on the outside to not harm you as that comes around. And where on engineering chucks, they tend to be a hard edge there. I have so many engineering chucks for my metal lathe. I have a South Bend that I actually like the new one better. And the fact that it's stainless steel and you can get wet wood on it and it won't rust is awfully nice. It's totally not magnetic because of that stainless construction. One way I get the jaws on faster is when I'm changing top jaws is to take them out with a very small impact wrench that I just pull all the screws out really fast, knock all the jaws off, brush it off with a brush, and then put the new ones on. But I always hand thread at least to start them so that I won't cross the threads. And then you can use an impact wrench, and you can even set, my wrench will set to a torque. But a good idea with any of these chucks is to use a torque screwdriver that will turn to like 5 Newton meters and final torque all those screws so you know they're really on there well.
So you are recommending this chuck system. If somebody was shopping for chucks, you'd say, go get one of these. Is that right?
It's my current recommendation, although I think One Way and Vic Mark both make an equal quality chuck if you look at the quality of the components. But I just find the Axminster to be much more thoughtful to a modern woodturner's needs.
Anybody else on this? Lazick, you got an opinion?
Well, I have chucks from every major manufacturer, and I do not choose a chuck based on the chuck. I choose a chuck out of my cabinet for the jaws I have on it. I don't feel that any one of the major chuck manufacturers make a better chuck than any of the others. That's my thought. They all work. They all do what they're supposed to do.
All
and
right.
buy what you can afford. Usually with a wood turner, it's because I have it, it's the best.
Well, it's usually best to choose a system and stick with it. Otherwise, you wind up with a whole lot of parts that don't quite intermesh if you can. I decided years ago to stick with One Way, but then I found it didn't actually have jaws that worked at the 3 inches exactly. So I had to add a Nova for that. But that was my choice.
The Axminster chucks and the Nova chucks, all the jaws fit all the chucks.
Yeah.
Where the other ones, you have 2 different size chucks. Now you got to buy 2 different size jaws for the same thing.
Right.
But, it's what they are. And they all work like they're supposed to work. The most important thing is to, cut what are you going to hold it at to, to do your cuts precisely. And then you don't have to worry about it, piece coming out of the jaws.
Anybody else on this before we move on? Yeah, go ahead, John. Hold on. So we got a question here in the room.
Okay.
Vic Mark. which I like. I only have one. And I was wondering, is there any other manufacturers' jaws that are compatible with the Vic mark?
Bulldog Chucks makes compatible jaws with the Vic mark. You can use the Vic mark jaws on the Bulldog Chucks or the Bulldog Chucks on a Vic mark chuck.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know who they are. But...
Anybody else on chucks?
Yeah, John, just it's Doug here. I just wanted to say thanks to Kai for one other thing, and that is that you pointed out that this, regardless of the chuck, one of the most critical parts is making sure you have your tenon made the right diameter for the best grip. You know, if you don't make the tenon right, then it doesn't matter what chuck it is, it's going to fly off.
Good point. Very good point. You want to end the share, Kai?
Yeah. Just one last remark, because we talked about different chucks. What I like about the system as well, this is the 100 millimeter chuck body, and that is the lighter chuck body, but still the base jaws, as Ernie calls them. I think Axminster calls them accessory mounting jaws, if I pronounce it the right way. They still fit both jaws, so I can use my sets that I have for the heavier jaw also on this one, which I use for my smaller lathe when I demonstrate wood turning and do things like that. So that's nice that they are interchangeable between different chucks. I think Axminster does a very big one as well, where it's not possible to use the accessories, but in this case it works nicely.
All right.
Okay, then I stop the share.
Stop the share. We're back at gallery view. I would remind you also, I should have done it earlier. See, we got a bunch more people on screen now. If you want to get my attention, the best way to do it is to use the reactions tab at the bottom of your screen and hit raise hand. And what that does is move your little box up to the upper left of my screen, so I can't miss it. Since we're here looking at gallery view, we have a new member in the room. I'm going to ask him to come up to the front and introduce himself. This is John Chalikian. I'm going to get a camera on him. Alt in, let me see.
Hi.
There you go. And I'm going to spotlight that. John has just joined the club, and he's brought in a bunch of work to show. And I think, just the mic there, say something, John.
Well, I've been turning about a year and a half.
You guys hear him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, go for it, John. Tell us your story.
Okay. I did turn in high school and college a little bit, just a couple of bowls. I got a Delta 1960 version, basically a shop lathe, which I had some interesting experience with. I was trying to tweak it, and I wound up breaking the yoke on the reeve drive, and I wound up having to rebuild the bearings and everything while I was getting that fixed. So it's been a real great experience. I've been really in love with turning. And so I started, made Richard Raffin. I've read his book, Turning Wood, and I consider him my mentor. And off of one of his things, this is his design. I've done some of this. Been making some snowmen. I made one of these, and my niece immediately said she wanted a dozen of them, which isn't going to happen.
That's a pretty big snowman. What did you make it out of? What's the wood?
This is maple.
Cool.
Around my shop, I have all sorts of logs. I keep picking them up all over the place. And, you know, with all the storms and everything, there's plenty around. So I've made some smaller ones, tree ornaments. I kind of like toys. I'd eventually be doing more. Little mouse. Spinning top, and I would like to get some input. I did get this to work, but it's one of many, and most of them don't work. I'm still trying to figure out what the proportions are on how to get these to work consistently. This is a bowl that's oak. And one thing of interest here, I used some Minwax hardener, and that seemed to do a decent job on this. And I like to play around. I've been mixing my own shellacs and waxes and stuff. So I made this mortise and pestle to, I got the flakes, and I just thought I'd mix them up, you know, make them in, crush them into smaller stuff. But I find that it's not really necessary to do that. Just going through the alcohol and so forth. Another thing that I have a question. This is another piece of maple, and it's got cracks in it, and so I just kind of stopped. But I'd be interested in getting some feedback on whether it's worthwhile trying to repair it, what kind of CA glue or whatever else. So I'm looking for suggestions.
What I do with a crack like that and a bowl like that is drill some holes and sew it up with a leather thong, or else with some Kevlar thread, so that the stitching was very visible and obvious.
Make it part of the design.
Make a feature out of it, because you're never going to hide it.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could hide it. Just want to try and keep it together. I have 3 cracks in here at this point.
Anybody else on what you should do with those cracks?
I use bow ties and with a different kind of wood so that they actually show up.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Did you turn it green?
Yes. It was not real green, not super green. Been sitting for a bit. I think it was about 15% moisture content when I started turning this.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And the last thing, well, actually, this is more like a book review. It's Fixtures and Chucks for Wood Turning by Doc Green. I kind of bought this, and initially I wasn't going to buy it, and said, well, I know how to hold wood, which of course was totally wrong. And this book's incredible for beginners or very experienced. He goes through explanations on scroll trucks, which is the simple part, but he's got all sorts of jam trucks. He even has in here making your own vacuum chuck and basically fabricating everything. I've made Morse tapers, clean outs, and the one thing I made this Longworth chuck. It's got a faceplate on the back, and the idea is it's a little bit harder to turn it, you know, just here, but these are loose. The idea is that you put a bowl in here and it holds the bowl. I also, you know, for doing the back, and these are adjustable.
So that's 2 discs, right?
Expands.
You turn the disc and the
Right.
little pegs
There's 2
move.
discs here.
Yeah.
And he explains everything. He's got like 3, 4, 5 steady rests, different designs, all sorts of stuff. Well worth the time and investment. He had a explanation on making a router radius for turning, you know, for cutting these grooves and all. And it's a really great book.
Very impressive. Questions and comments for John?
I don't
Yes,
have
I
a-
have one.
I don't have a question, but one of the great things about North Carolina is that Doc Green and Jim Duxbury live there.
Duxbury's on screen with us. They're 2 of the
Yeah.
most turners we have.
Yeah, I know Doc Green pretty well. If you get on his website, he has a fabulous website. He even tells you how to rebuild solid state variable speed controllers and, oh God, all kinds of stuff. He's a fabulous guy. he quit wood turning. I don't know what he's doing now, but he
really?
did some wonderful work. He wrote that book and he stayed around for another year or two. And then a couple years ago, he just plain quit. So I don't know what he's doing. We got a fabulous shop, all kinds of things, but his website has a myriad of things in it. He really, any kind of problem solving on speed controls or lathe problems or bearing problems. He's got all kinds of stuff in there. Thank you, Bill.
Guy, you got your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to comment on this spinning top problem. Could you please show your spinning top again? Yeah. I made the experience that spinning tops are easier to spin when the mass or the center of mass is quite low. So maybe if you leave away this little ball at the top, yeah, or where the point is, and give it just a point, so that changes the shape a little bit, but then the mass is lower, and if you don't have a stem that is too long, that should be easier to turn then, or to throw, to spin. Sorry.
My grandchildren make them all the time with no knob on the bottom, just a point. Yeah, and they work very well.
Yeah.
John, while you're up there, where do you live?
I live in Cheltenham, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia.
Do you belong to any other clubs?
No.
So you've just joined the Lancaster Woodturners on the strength of our videos, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I've been really impressed. I was just going to send money in to just contribute to, all this equipment buying. And so I thought, well, I might as well join.
Oh, appreciate that. Very glad to have you.
I mean, later on, because of COVID, there are several clubs in the Philadelphia area, Bucks County and all that. And I might also join, when I have meetings. And so
we have guys who belong to several clubs around here. Yeah.
No, but I've learned a lot and enjoyed the conversations. I can't always catch all the, actual 10 o'clock because I still do a little bit of work. I'm 3/4 retired.
What was your profession?
An electrical contractor.
Okay.
I have a degree in industrial arts education, actually from Millersville, not too far from here, and had a really great opportunity there. I was still at the point where they were really emphasizing craftsmanship, and I got educated in wood and metal and hot and cold metals and ceramics and plastics and lots of different stuff.
Very cool. Well, welcome aboard, and thank you for presenting this morning and introducing yourself.
Thank you.
John, could I make a comment on the spinning tops just for a second? Have you ever seen a spinning top that looks more like a flywheel, where you make a thicker edge and then you actually hollow it down to the middle so that it's a flat top, and then the point's just coming out the bottom?
Yeah.
The reason for doing that is that the flywheel has its center of mass is on the outside rim. And that really makes it so that it's stable. And so the further out you can get the mass of the top, the longer it'll spin and the easier it'll spin. I haven't seen very many of them, but I've made a couple myself.
So you're saying is hollow out this section in here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Top and bottom.
Top and bottom.
Top and bottom.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it would be fun playing with that.
Yeah, that works pretty well.
Yeah, probably. I like to experiment and play around.
You can get bigger ones that way. You can get them up to.
Yeah.
I've made them huge that way.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I'm going to take the spotlight off you. And I'm going to go back to the gallery view, I think. Yeah. Now, just for a moment of procedural stuff right here, I've got two mic systems working, and I wonder if there's any interference between the two, or can you hear me clearly?
You're fine.
Okay,
clear.
Fine.
You're good.
And could you hear John clearly when he was up front there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
We've solved our audio problem with a little audio mixing board that's really working good. Doug, have you got Kathy Gower's pictures?
Yeah, sure.
Kathy Gower, are you still here? Where are you? Don't tell me she went away.
No, I had to unmute. Sorry.
Okay, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay,
That's it.
okay.
So Jeff and I had been seeing these little sea urchin lamps and had talked about them. And last year we made several sea urchin ornaments. So we decided to venture out and try some lamps. And the demonstration that we watched, the guy had done it with clear lights, but he said he'd like to see some colored lights. So we found these little flashing lights. So it gives it a little more color and pizzazz, but the top just comes off. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, we can see. We see good.
Okay. The top comes off and you can just buy these little bulbs on Amazon, and we just snap the ends off of it and then just drill the hole in the center. The light sits right down in it. Then you just sit the top on top of it. You make the top large enough diameter to fit the hole on the sea urchin.
That's very cool. Any questions for Kathy about that one?
Kathy,
Yes.
batteries in the base of that light, it's all one assembly?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Is it replaceable, the battery?
Yes, but they're so cheap. I think it's cheaper to buy just replacement bulbs, because the bulbs were, I don't know, they were very inexpensive. I think Jeff and I figured out they were less than 20 cents a piece to buy the whole bulb, and it's got 3 batteries. So I feel like that would be more expensive to replace the batteries than just to replace the whole bulb.
Yes.
Let me ask a question here. You're saying the bulb and the battery are all one unit?
Yes. Well, I mean, they come apart. I mean, they unscrew here. And they're, I don't know if
You found them somewhere.
I'm trying to find the spot.
I'll get you back to it. There.
Sorry. Charlie, do you want me to unshare so you can show on the screen?
No, leave it on. She's good. She's big.
Okay.
So it's just got the little batteries inside that just unscrew.
John, we can't see that.
You can't see that. Okay.
No. Hang on a second. I need to stop the share.
Okay, stop the share. And then I'm going to give Kathy the spotlight.
I
Okay.
think I still.
Okay, so the bulbs look like this. And they have a little piece so that it actually hangs. I think they're called lantern lights. And they actually hang. So I just snipped that end off so that it would sit flat down in there. The bulb unscrews. And the batteries are, losing it. There it is.
Yeah, hold them up.
Batteries are inside.
Got it.
I got it.
Okay. Kai,
thank you.
Question? Kai?
Yeah, Catherine, could you send John the link on the Amazon link where you found them, so that
Sure,
he can put it into his email that he sends around, so that makes it easier to find it?
We also bought some that are just clear, so I'll send both links on the clear lights and the color multi-lights.
Very nice.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Are they LED lights?
Yes.
Okay.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Doug, what else we got there from Kathy while we're at it?
Before you go on, John, are those sea urchins, are they very brittle? Are they difficult to work with when you're putting it together?
They are brittle, but I found that they're really easy to work with. I mean, they'll break. I had one in a little lamp that someone had given me several years ago, and it was fine until I had little grandsons that came along and picked it up and dropped it on the floor. They won't last then, but they're pretty hardy. I've got this finial glued on, and it's, they're
So that hole in the hole in the bottom, that's natural then? You didn't have to
That's
work with the
natural.
Say with it?
That's where the creeks.
Sometimes you have to drill. It depends on how they got the urchin out. But sometimes the holes are very small and you'll have to drill a little bit, and they're very easy to drill. They don't come apart.
What do you do, just use a Dremel or something like that?
Work gently. Yeah, I've actually just used my regular drill before.
That's where the sea urchin's little mouth comes out. That's where it eats
Yes.
and defecates. Yeah.
But you're right, a Dremel will work as well with a sanding tool on the end of the Dremel if you want to be a little bit more delicate
Right.
around one spot or something like that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that would work.
Thank you.
The Kai again?
Yeah.
I'll send also there's a link where I ordered the sea urchins, and I researched to find the best deal on the sea urchins, and I think these ended up being about $1 a piece. They were 24 to a box for $25, I think.
Send me all those links and I'll put them out with the follow-up.
Sure will.
Kai, what do you got?
Yeah, I watched a video on the internet, and this guy used a wooden cone that he glued sandpaper to enlarge the hole in the bottom. So you don't have to drill, you just kind of sand it away or sand it a little bit bigger or make it round by sanding, and you can turn the cone yourself on the lathe and then just stick some sandpaper on the outside and then use it to enlarge the hole. And that seemed to be pretty easy and worked well.
Yeah, I just find they're not as brittle as people try to think they are. Also, one of the videos I watched, the guy it said to put white glue inside the sea urchin shell and just, pour some in there and roll it around to strengthen the shell. And he said, I don't see that it does any that much good for it. So
I did one years ago using a cone-shaped grinding stone grinder with a bit on it. Just put it in a drill and just pressed it in there nicely and did a beautiful, smooth job.
That'll work. Bowman?
So do you think, just one last question, do you think that would work with a Christmas ornament then?
Definitely.
What you're talking about?
You could put one of those lights in your Christmas ornament and hang it from.
That's what I'm wondering about, how you might do that and then get it apart again.
Well, you might not
get it apart. Possibly if you somehow could, because some of the sea urchin spines have a hole in the top.
Yeah.
This one actually was solid, but a lot of them have a hole in the top. If you did a finial that had a tenon on it, you could actually hang those little lights if you had a large enough sea urchin to fit.
It's going to take a little while. How big we put that out to the club as a challenge?
Seems to me like hot glue's your answer there.
Well, you're right, John. But
well, you could hot glue, but then you couldn't turn the light off.
You couldn't turn the light off. How you make a Christmas ornament with a sea like that without a anyway?
Well, that is a good challenge, and we will be covering ornaments in this December, I guess. So Bowman, what do you got?
I want to know. I wanted a sense of perspective. Was that the top part of this thing? When you see a picture, you don't know if it's a 12-foot tall or 2 inches tall. Well, how tall are they when it was completely assembled? Is that it there?
The base is 4.5 inches, I believe, was what the base was. And the top's about the same. So about 9 inches total. Let me see, I'll hold it up against my face.
That's about right.
Thank you. The second question is, if you left the light on, how long would it burn?
I think it has a 3-hour lifespan.
Okay, it's
clear ones showed an 8-hour lifespan.
They're about good for one evening of Christmas tree lighting, right?
Maybe all you need. You got another piece that Doug has a picture of.
I'll share my screen again.
All right,
And
what's
so
that?
I'm in the grandma mode, so I'm, it's baby rattles. So I've studied some of the different designs for baby rattles, and I listened to Mike a few weeks ago was talking about baby rattles, and so I watched Mike Peace's segment on baby rattles, but I didn't want to split the wood lengthwise. I wanted to cut the ends off because I wanted a perfect little dumbbell, rounded and dumbbells. So I started playing with it, and Jeff and I are taking a class now, and so my instructor, I was telling him about it, and said he kind of helped me. He said, do it just with a plug in the end of it. And so that's what I did. I shaped the rattle and then drilled a hole 3/4 of the way through this little piece on the end. And then I put after I had it all shaped, I cut the plugs to fit those ends, filled them with little tiny pebbles, and it really turned out well. I was very pleased, and the ends are,
Well,
if you can.
I could hold it a little higher up.
Hang on, I'm going back. I'm ending my share. There.
Okay, she was, we had her a second ago. Let me get her back. Spotlight. Yeah, there. Okay, now we see. Now I'll tell you something I did with a thing like that for a rattle. I happen to have kept all of my children's baby teeth. I found them in a box in my drawer. So when I wanted to make a rattle for the grandchildren, I used the baby teeth as the
Oh, how awesome. I used to save mine. I think mine are probably still at my mom's. I'll have to do that for my great grands.
For them, you got to keep them. I mean, Miss Tooth Fairy.
So
Very
that
nice.
was fun. Something new.
Any questions for Kathy? All right, who's next? Maybe I'm next. I got a little video I'm going to try and show you. The one I failed to be able to show last week. I'm going to give it a try again. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go to this one here. I want to share sound. I want to optimize the clip. I want to share that. And I want to play it. You got it? Can you see it?
Yep.
Yep.
So I set up in my picnic pavilion to paint all 108 spindle. I painted the beveled base rails, plus the top sub rails and 3 widths of post trim. Meanwhile, Terry framed out the deck. He installed 4x4 posts and Trex style flooring. I used blocks and rippings to set up an assembly jig on the picnic table. And I made story sticks for several baluster increments, so I could dry assemble each section and get it just right. I bored and countersunk the top rails and base rails for 3 screws per spindle, then clamp it up and screw it together. And finally I top coated each assembled section. Terry installs the post trim. The wraparound trim makes strong vertical reveals. Each section fits snugly in place with the top subrails resting on the posts and a small steel bracket supporting the base rail. The top subrails can be trimmed to a neat butt joint, or miters at the corner posts. Chamfered post capitals butt into wide top rails that slope outward for drainage. So here's the completed installation as you walk around past our front door. I'm endlessly fascinated by the play of light and shadow on these rhythmic forms. I like it that the balusters are nowhere near identical. This 7-foot section is the feature rail, but you wouldn't know it from this head-on view. The rise and fall only comes into view when you approach the panel from an angle. This is how it's seen from inside the house. Terry the carpenter enjoys a sit. And now we can entertain friends for barbecue dinners on our beautiful new deck.
There you go. I'm going to.
How long was that project in the doing, John?
I started turning balusters last spring sometime, but it was intermittent. I mean, I turned, in the end, it took about 10 minutes each to turn them, but I was also at a big time investment in ripping the blanks out of 2-inch planks. Fair amount of, flat woodworking to get the blanks out and the rails and all that out. And painting was a major challenge as well. So probably turning was a third of the work, half the work, and the other half was painting and wood manufacturing. And
how did you decide on the design of the baluster?
You'll have to watch my video, my full video, which I'm going to post on this site tomorrow. I'll give you a link to it. The design, it comes from caryatids, the female figures that hold up the roofs in the Greek temples. But it's very, very stylized, and there's a bit of a tale for that in the longer video. I have a 12-minute video that gets me up to where we started painting, and then this little 3-minute shirt tail I'll add on to it, and I'll post that finished video.
John, when you do the progressive design, do you draw that somehow, or?
I modeled it. I made an awful lot of half-size models.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
A half-size model of a 2-inch spindle is only 1 inch and has only 1/8 the wood in it, eh?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very quick and easy to turn. I probably made 40 or 50 half-size little cherry models and played with them with the camera on. So I made a lot of photos and a lot of little videos and really explored the design choices that I was interested in. It was a really good way to work. And you'll see that on the video I'm going to post as well. The guys who've been here for a while have seen the longer video. You new dudes wouldn't have seen it yet, but I've kind of been playing with this all spring and summer. Bowman?
What did you do with the little mock-ups? It sounds like there's some fun for grandkids there.
I'm going to make a gate. I'm going to make a gate using them. Anybody else?
Beautiful job, John. That looked good.
Thank you, guys. Soon we'll have a party there for the local dudes. Okay, who's next? We got another one. Time for 1 or 2 more quickie shares. Who's next on here? Vasco, what do you got, Vasco?
Oh, I just wanted to show one of my early pieces that I did. It's Black Knot Cherry. And I live outside of State College and near Scotia Range. I don't know if guys have ever heard of it, but it's real famous for iron ore, and it's a very cold area, and there's a lot of cherry, and for some reason there's a lot of black knot in our area. So it's just a pretty little piece that I made, and it was one of the early pieces that I had made.
Hold it a little further back from the camera and closer to you. Yeah, that gives it a better focus.
How's that?
Very good.
That's a beautiful piece.
Nice piece of wood.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous piece of wood. I just couldn't, and I have a lot of this stuff sitting around. I just haven't gotten around to making the bowls. This was early in my career. That was probably 8 years ago or so that I made this piece. And if you look at the bottom, it's a little bit scary right in here. I didn't have much grip.
I'll see.
And I got a little bit.
Fungus or something?
Pardon me?
Is that some sort of fungus?
Black knot is a fungus, yes.
I should say right here that Vasco and Chalikian, the fellow who shared a minute ago, have both just joined our club, and they both very kindly not only paid $10 for the last quarter of 2021, but $30 for all of 2022. And with that, I should tell you all that we are open for collecting 2022 dues, $30 a year. Mail me a check or a PayPal. And I'll put my address in the next follow-up as well. We'll collect dues all through the last quarter. With your dues, you get a membership card and you get a name badge that sits here at the club room for anybody who shows up. Okay.
I get a finder's fee for that.
Randy, what do you got?
Well, I finished. I've been making a batch of 40 pens for the Freedom Pens project. I just finished them, and I don't know if I can do that. Yes, I can.
You can.
Here they are, all 40 of them. There are 2 different styles. Let me turn back up here.
Are they all ballpoints or are any of them fountains?
They are all slimlines. I made 2 different styles. This is kind of a faux European. The top actually overlaps the bottom. And the other kind is simply a pen. I don't know if you can see, there's a finger grip at the bottom. And they're all in cherry and in maple. So
what are you going to do with them?
So just to answer your question, John, just to answer that question for people who don't know, slim lines are all ballpoints.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you going to get them to the troops? How does that work?
There are a couple of people who actually do that. They collect them and forward them. So if you go to Worldwide Woodturners website, there are several people who accept them for the military.
There's somebody on the
Army, Navy. I believe there's one for the Marines as well. And I'm going to package these up, put them in baggies, and ship them out to several people over the next week or 2. So,
all right. Questions for Randy?
Randy, what did you finish them with?
Super glue. CA.
Do you use thin, thick, or what do you use when you finish it with CA?
Normally I use thin, but occasionally if I want a thicker finish, I'll use a medium. The thing that I do though is I prefer a feel that feels like wood instead of plastic. And so what I do is after I finish it and the CA is dry, I go over it with 4/0 steel wool. That gives it a nice matte finish, and it actually feels like wood. It doesn't feel like there's any finish on it at all, but the CA is still there.
Anybody else? Questions for Randy?
Do you put it on the lathe with the steel wool, or you just do it by hand?
I use the lathe. I as soon as it's I use these plastic cone bushings to keep the CA off the mandrel, and I turn it at about 500 RPMs to put the CA on it. Once the CA is finished, I don't use accelerator. Once the CA is dry, I increase the speed to about 1200 or 1700, and I go over it with some 4/0 steel wool, and then I assemble the pens.
Other questions for Randy? Dilo, you had something you wanted to show. You want to use up the last 2 minutes?
Got to take Harry, got to take the mute off. I don't find myself here.
You're good.
We can hear.
Oh,
we can hear you fine.
I got 11.5 inch cherry bull. Twice turn bull. I finished off this week.
Did you dry turn that? Is that like return from turn dry?
Yeah, that's a twice turn bull. Yes, probably my favorite wood to work with, the cherry.
And how long ago did you do the rough turning?
2 years ago. This has just been sitting on the shelf, and I got tired of doing the wet bowl routine and wanted to just finish up one.
All right. Any questions for Dave?
John.
Yeah.
Doug here. I just have a comment or an invitation. I don't know if people know, but I put it on my Facebook page, but I actually have the gallery, the Parrot Gallery at CMCL, our church in downtown Lancaster, has got an open night tomorrow night for First Fridays in Lancaster. And it's my work is on display. The gallery will be open from 5 until 8. So I'd like to invite anybody in the Lancaster area who'd like to come down to come on down. It's at the Community Mennonite Church of Lancaster as part of the First Friday openings. So
what's
art gallery walk.
What street's that on, Doug?
It's on Orange Street. It's 328 Orange Street. It's just a little bit of a very short walk from downtown.
All right. And we're right on the hour. And before we wrap up, I want to say that one of the things we started to do earlier in the spring was have interviews. We've had, who have we had? We had Josh Friend, the editor of the Journal. We had Mike Darlow from Australia. We had David Ellsworth twice. We had the late, great Leo Doyle. We've had Duxbury. If you have somebody you'd like to see show slides and answer questions here, let me know. I found that most famous guys that we talk to are receptive. We don't pay them, but we don't ask a whole lot of them either. Just show up for an hour and yakety yak. And so if there's somebody you're interested in knowing, let me know who it is and I'll see if we can get them. So that with that, anybody, any questions or comments before I wrap it up? It's after 11 o'clock. In that case, thank you all for another very interesting Woodturners coffee hour. And we'll see you again next Thursday. We're back on our winter schedule of doing this every week.